sister. I'm glad we could sit in my very formal living room, although it's very big and we can't look very formal. I want to talk about our car accident we had together.
Yes.
Because this reminded me of our car accident, and this whole time is probably going to feel like a car accident. Okay, so how old were you? 4?
I was 3.
3?
Yes.
And I already had my driver's license. I had a learner's permit at 13, and I had did I have a learner's at 13?
And you were driving. You weren't supposed to drive without a parent.
That's right. But we were going to Sage, our brother's wrestling match.
Yes.
What do I do with my legs? And I, of course, I was peeling an orange for you.
And doing your makeup.
And putting your seatbelt on.
Yes.
But all at the same time.
Yes, all at the same time.
Yes. And you were 3,
Yes.
and I would tell you, call me Mom.
Yes.
Yeah. And then...
Driving to Newell, South Dakota.
Yeah. To a wrestling match without Mom and Dad, and then I went off the road. How?
I remember vividly, you were driving, doing all 3 things. And I remember sitting there like a little girl thinking...
You were 3.
I was
like
3,
a little girl.
in your gray Taurus. It was your gray Taurus.
Yes.
And thinking, what is she doing? But you were trying to get me buckled, and I was like, sister, I got it. I'm sure in my high voice, I got it. And you're like, oh no, I got this, because you know, you're big. And I
Is that a fat joke?
No.
Okay.
No, and you got me clipped just in time. You went off the road, down into the ditch, into the fence, and I think we spun maybe once, yes. And I had, do you remember this? I had my little legs. I just started gymnastics.
And I don't know if I got the seatbelt on, but this became your seatbelt.
Maybe you didn't.
And then you just held yourself.
I remember, yes, and we spun.
Yep. And you stayed in place. You were a gymnast.
Yes.
You had just started.
Just started.
And when I went to get out of the car and to get you out because I was still worried about you.
I was crying.
Yep. I couldn't get out because the barbed wire had gone on one side of the Taurus and the other part of the fence on the bottom had gone on this side, and we were literally trapped in between wire.
How did you feel about that?
How did you feel about that? I felt very bad. But I don't remember how somebody came and got us because there were no cell phones back then. I don't know. Because you're very old.
I don't remember.
So
it scarred me for life. That's why I'm this way.
Somebody stopped along the road and got us out. And yeah, the 13-year-olds, we wrecked. But that little position reminds me of you've been my little doll that and now we get to do life, and you've had babies. And I've had babies, and
we were just talking about we haven't gotten our baby weight off. But yours is 16.
Well, I'm getting my baby weight off. My baby is 16. So my goal is by her 18th birthday, all the baby weight gone.
It's gone.
Back to my pre-birth
You haven't had the time.
No. I've been focused on her. How old's your baby?
He's 3 months.
Oh, yeah. You look really good.
Well, thanks.
What about your thigh? You mentioned earlier that your thigh...
Well, okay, let's be honest. Here's what's happened. I've not tried these clothes on since before him, so I've tried a lot on this morning, and it's like everything is like pushing up, and it's like coming out my turtleneck. That's how I feel right now. But there's that.
And your thigh. I didn't notice, but you're trying to push your thigh back.
And this keeps ripping. It's bulging.
Nope, I've done that. I have jeans that you gotta get jeans that the holes are very secure.
Yeah.
But we are moms now. Yes. But we are talking, like there's actually a purpose.
Yes.
And we're talking today about how to get your twirly girl back. Because this is my house, my formal living room, which we've never sat in and talked because we're not this formally like British women.
Yes.
That's why we're sitting like this in the chair. But we did a bright launch in my backyard, and we talked about the twirly girl, about how when we're little girls, in fact, share that. Some people have heard or seen us talk about this, but
like specifically with when we both had like that
vision insight at the same time. Yeah.
Gosh, wasn't it like 2 years ago? I was sitting in my living room, and I had some classical music playing. Sometimes I'll do that just to like bring calm and peace in our home. And Magnolia had her aerial dress on, and she was in the middle of the living room and was just like twirling. And I think I was on Pinterest or something, totally preoccupied. And I felt like God was like, look up and like put your phone down and look up. And when I did, it was just like this snapshot moment that God spoke to my heart, and he said, this is how all little girls start, but somewhere along the way, we as girls or women, you know, life hits us and we lose that twirly girl. We lose that, I don't know if I said twirly girl exactly, but we lose that like that joy, that freedom. And like a weirdo, I sat there crying, having this revelation. And then I think we were sitting up in Door County like a week later.
And you just started telling me that story, and I said, seasons.
Yes.
This past week, same time frame when we were apart, I was at a conference, and I thought about how when I opened a gift at my birthday party when I was like 3, and the whole family plus some aunts and uncles were in the living room around me in a circle, and I was in the center of the living room opening my gifts. And one of the gifts I opened was a little gray cape, and with a hood, and I put it on and I just spun and twirled for all of them to see. And I wasn't ashamed, I wasn't embarrassed. I knew they'd want to see me in my new cape. And I told Casey, who was with me at the conference, about that like vision as I was in a workshop about writing your autobiography. And it was like God put that memory in my head. And she looked at me, she goes, you need to do a book called Twirly Girl. And so then we talked about it, and we're like, and that's where Bright even began to form. How do we get our Twirly Girl back? Which Bright life coaching that we do together. How do you get your Twirly Girl back? Because, you say it nicer than me, but of course I'm the big sister, a little more crass. I'm like, how to get your twirly girl back, because we start out as a twirly girl until life kicks the crap out of us. And whether that's at 4, someone touches us and we're ashamed to tell anyone. Whether that's we are ashamed of what we did in high school and what we tried out and we snuck out, or what people have called us, and we just find that we would never stand in the center of a room and twirl because we wouldn't feel safe. And I think for you and I mean, I love, and some people have sisters or friends they can do this with, but we're fortunate because not everybody does that. I feel like I could walk in a new dress or a shirt and be like, sister, and twirl for you, and you'd celebrate me. But a lot of people don't have that. Or I would never be vulnerable to say, I also have jeans that my thigh comes out the top and blah, like, because that's not a safe place. And what if they look at me and go, I mean, you know, maybe you should try CrossFit. Like, we now live in this fear. And so how do we get our twirly girl back?
So, you know, I think about it often as I've watched Magnolia. Oh, she's almost 5. But I feel like I've kind of been like treating her like porcelain. Like, wow, you can see so like how things happen in life that could knock her down, you know, little interactions with friends saying things, or her coming to me going, Mommy, this person made me feel this way, or they said it, and I'm like, don't take her twirly girl. Like, you can see how like it's like, we know none of us get to bypass the human experience, but I feel like I'm like watching her. But to answer your question, I think the reality is we can't buffer the things that that hit us in life. But like we were talking about before this, is that without a doubt, the only way that we can really get our twirly girl back, or really that joy, that freedom, is through Jesus. I mean, you and I could sit here and we could say, okay, ladies, like self-care, bath time, make sure like you let people know your schedule, that you're not free, because you need to have 12 hours a day to focus on yourself, and it's all about you and your power. Like, we would be doing everybody a disservice, right? Like, first and foremost, we know it's Jesus. We know, like I told Mom yesterday, I said, we were talking about something, and I said, man, I feel like life is hard enough at times with Jesus. Like, you have those moments throughout your day, or like those moments throughout your week where you're like, I just feel blah, I just feel. And I told her, I said, I can't imagine, like, we feel that as Jesus people, that I can't imagine what it's like when you don't have Jesus, like, buffering those things in life. And so I think first and foremost, realizing that we've all fallen short of the glory of God. We all need Jesus. That's truly where our joy is going to come, our freedom. That's where the Magnolia is. When she does get, you know, she falls down, that it's teaching her, okay, Magnolia, it's not, let's go buy you a new dress to make you feel better because that little girl said your dress is ugly, but like, how do you incorporate, but this is what the Bible says, Magnolia, and this is what, you know, Jesus teaches us. So first and foremost, hands down that. So that'd be my main answer.
You know, I did a bright intent. We have a couple like individual life coaching people that we're starting a bright intensive with, and she had talked about living in such a time that she just finds herself angry and in fear because at the time of this recording, and I wish it could be like, and then to, you know, this will be irrelevant, this conversation about the state of our world in a month, but this pandemic and everything that's gone on just keeps dragging on. And she was talking about how she's like, I want to be a light, but I literally find myself angry, fearful, frustrated, like daily, because I look around and everybody's judging everything I do because it's become this, let's judge each other in this opinion-based thing. And I replied back to her, and I'm going to share this on a bright morning. I'm for sure going to copy myself again, because the verse of the day today said fear has to do with punishment. Wow. I've never seen that. So perfect love casts out fear. Fear has to do with punishment. And I thought, one, fear's bad enough. Why does fear have to do with punishment? I don't want either. And so my point to her was, I am in Jesus, under Jesus, he's in me. So we know we fight fear, and we fight that our kids are going to be hurt. We fear what could happen to us again because we've been hurt by people. Will it happen again? All of that's bad enough. But to know that the Bible links fear and punishment makes me want to run away from both and get rid of both. And it made me hate fear even more. And so, but it says perfect love casts out fear. So what do you get? And that love, people are trying to fill that with, well, love one another, and love is love, and you know, love your neighbor is good, but like love will fix everything. But we don't always talk about what is the source of that love that the Bible's talking about, and it's Jesus. And it's exactly what you're saying. That without Jesus to cast out fear, to say you're not living under punishment, you're living under grace, his love casts out fear. And because now that I know what it's like to have my twirly girl stolen, I fear that for Aubrey. Anything that happens, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's gonna struggle and need counseling and all this. And it's like you said, nobody gets to bypass the human experience. But let's talk about how we get our twirly girl back. Yeah, for sure. But before we do that, do you think, because you said this, I don't know how people do it without Jesus, because sometimes you just feel, but do you think that sometimes people who don't have Jesus, or they're not super close with Jesus, do you think they experience the same kind of spiritual warfare that those of us who have Jesus? Like, do you think that they're as big of a target? So maybe they go through like life a little oblivious and not feeling the weight that Jesus people feel?
Gosh, sis, that's a really great question. I think, I don't know, I feel like the closer we press into God, and I'm not saying like on your hands and knees 7 hours a day, but like the closer we're intentional about keeping our mind fixated on Jesus, I think he gives us eyes to see, because we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. And I've always thought when I'm in an argument with somebody, I'm like, I'm not wrestling against her, it's not her drama, like this is the enemy trying to come between us. But I think about it more like, no, like God is saying, listen, like, there's more going on like in the spiritual realm than what we can see. Does that make sense? Like, we're not necessarily, obviously not fighting against each other, but like there is a spiritual realm. There is an unseen world. And so all that to say, I do feel like as we press into Jesus, I feel like he allows us to sense like, ooh, that felt off, or ooh, I just had like that, I just saw that, or I sensed that, or I felt that. And I think, I do think some people are more sensitive to, you know, the spiritual realm, I guess.
And I guess they say knowing's half the battle on everything. And knowing, I'm not fighting against my mother-in-law right now. Satan's trying to steal my joy today through what was said. She's not the enemy. Those words were used to pierce at a deep place, or my sister, or my friend. So, but there is a, to whom much is given, much is required, but it's still worth the Jesus journey. It is. Okay, so Twirly girl, how do you get how do you get your twirly girl back?
I do love that we go from like deep spiritual to like, okay,
back to
trampolines and
yes, trampolines. Okay, because we're gonna try something. I didn't know we were doing. There we go. Okay. You were saying trampolines. Talk about it. You just told me this.
Yes. I was laughing because we sound so much alike.
Really?
Yeah. Anyways,
you hear that?
I could hear that. Okay, so trampolines.
Yes.
So I did bring this up. So this was like premeditated on both of our parts. So my twirly girl, we were talking about that. And my goal is when I get back, I am going back home. I am going to get a membership at a trampoline park. Yes, I am. As a 34-year-old woman.
You were a gymnast.
So I was a gymnast, so there's that. There's some credit there.
Okay.
Because I want to get my gymnastics back. I want to get my back tuck and my layout and my full layout, and I want to do this.
I just want to lose my baby fat by the time she's 18. You want to get your back tuck?
Because
sister, that's so good.
Okay, but
you know what? That's deeply spiritual.
Okay, why?
Did you listen to my sermon on Sunday? I said this sounds like those sound like, oh, that's silly, that's funny.
Yeah.
But like if you got that would that just excite you, and then you're stirred in your affection for life, and then you're like, you know what? I'm not an old mom.
Yeah.
And that's not out of vanity. Yeah. That's out of your personality also is achiever. So for you to get a back tuck
is a big thing.
Yeah.
For sure.
Wow.
I might go to the Olympics still.
Did I inspire you with my mini tramp?
Yes, talk to me about that, which I do want. Well, I'm serious, I do want. I told Brian I want a trampoline
my mini tramp. So it's like the 1980s, like mini tramp, like Granny had.
Did you get it at a secondhand store, or is this new?
Oh no, I got it from Amazon, and they're called rebounders now.
Okay.
They're not called a trampoline.
Because it sounds better.
Yeah, because I'm a rebounder, and the rebounding workout is what you Google on YouTube.
Okay.
And you do it for the lymphatic system.
I do believe it.
And you do like a side jumping jack, and that does good for your kidneys. And you know, some of this totally makes sense because
where did you hear all this?
I quit yoga because of the background, and I had a Messianic rabbi say,
tell you was naughty.
There's no taking the yoga out of the enlightenment, out of the spiritual side. And I'm like, oh, so I quit yoga. But you know how you do certain positions in yoga, and the instructor would say,
this is for your liver.
This is for your liver. Now we're draining your kidneys. We're opening up your lymphatic. Well, I just got on a rebounder, and I'm draining all the stuff.
I love it. I love it. What does Sean think of this, though?
Oh, he's embarrassed. So embarrassed. And I have my trampoline facing the window outside because then I could look outside.
So the
neighbors
trampoline.
can see. No, not the neighbors, but if Sean walks by, he's like, so embarrassed. My kids, they can hear, and you can hear, and so my kids don't come in my bedroom.
This in this moment, like right here, Sonny jumping on her trampoline.
It's so good. You can do a J-Lo rebound routine.
I bet you feel like J-Lo.
And then it's a routine. It's choreographed.
Sonny.
Except for the instructor on this one, she can't dance. And so she would get off beat.
You watch instructors on this?
Oh yeah, so I watch YouTube. It's free then. I paid $80 for my rebound, 50, 80, something. But I got a safety bar.
Oh, so it's not you just getting up there jumping, you're watching an instructor teach you.
Then you watch, and you can do a 10-minute, 15-minute hit workout.
Nope, Sonny, you're making this up.
But the instructor, she was like a typical 45-year-old woman who I was like,
these are loser baby weights still?
No, she was skinny.
Okay.
But like typical coordination and like didn't look like she danced before, and she got off beat. So like I'm once I got the routine,
being a dancer, you're like, this is not
I'm like,
okay.
oh my gosh, you're doing the J-Lo thing, but like you're one beat off. So we had to find a new J-Lo routine. But and I don't think it's because that's what J-Lo does. It's just her music.
It's her music
and some moves.
And hey, if you feel fabulous when you get off, then it's worth it all.
There's also like people that look like mimes, that they're the instructor on YouTube. They wear all black and turtlenecks because they're more in it for the lymphatic and the health benefits. It gives you energy. 10 minutes of a rebounder is equivalent to an hour of running.
Okay, and I will give you credit, leave it to you, because you're always like a couple steps of people, and even me, like at times you'll say, sister, did you know like you shouldn't eat like this because it'll cause this? And I'm like,
Like don't use your microwave, and I had to take your microwave away.
And so I have to say, like, I know we might giggle, but you're always usually onto something.
Maybe. Or maybe people are just imagining and it's weird. It's a bit embarrassing.
I think you could move it away from the window. It's a little funny for me.
It's a little funny.
If people are moving, you're like this grown woman, like are you doing kicks?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't do kicks because I think I could fall
you dress
off.
appropriate. Like you're not in like your jammies or something. Like you're in nice workout clothes.
That's the greatest thing. You get out of bed and you just get on the trampoline.
I figured that's what you do.
You don't have to put any
shoes.
No, and that's the other thing. You don't have to put shoes on. You don't have to change your clothes out of pajamas. You get on, it starts your day, and you jump.
And you do it in front of the window.
Yep. You're so amazed by this. So that's a twirly. So we started something new.
Yes, starting something new.
Yes.
Our mom is going to start. She is 67, 68, and she's starting dance. Tap.
Taps. She's always. She would take my tap shoes when I was in tap, and then she would start tapping. And
you're like,
you know how you're always embarrassed of your mom. You know, no matter what.
No
my
matter
kids
what.
are embarrassed of me.
Magnolia's embarrassed of me.
Yeah, if she saw you do a back tuck, she'd be like,
"Mommy."
Mommy.
She's not impressed. She's like, no.
And the fact is, you're way cooler than Magnolia. She's 5.
I know. And you're cooler than your kids.
I know.
Don't let them tell you this stuff.
Look
Don't
at my
let them.
jeans. And old woman and old man shoes are really in. The more, did you know the style for men right now is pleated khaki pants?
No, I don't
that
like
are from a secondhand store with loafers?
No. That's
for
not right.
sure. It's totally real. Aubrey told me, she's like, oh yeah, that's totally in. And then like old oversized sweaters that maybe the front's tucked in.
No.
No belt.
What?
Yeah. Judah Smith wore it on Sunday, and I told Aubrey, we were watching him on video, I said, that's so ugly. Is that ugly? She goes, no, that's totally in. I'm like, he kind of looks like he came from a nursing home, but he's young. Anyway, she's like, it's totally in. Okay, so we to get our twirly girl, we try something new.
Yes.
Okay, what about quitting something that we just feel obligated to do, but we quit?
Dishes.
Like dishes.
Laundry.
Toilet cleaning.
Yes.
Sean does the laundry. That creates a twirly girl mindset in me. He gets done, he brings me my clothes, and I could just twirl and say, thank you, babe.
I'm like, can we contract our laundry? So I'm trying. Because that doesn't stir my affection for anything.
Yeah.
Like, what can we quit? But that's a good point.
Quit something.
I can't think right now.
Maybe quit, I mean, we were talking about exercise. Quit something you hate, but you do, but then you only do it once a week because you hate it.
Okay, cleaning my house. That is something
I'm serious about working out. Yeah. Yep. So what do? Just live in filth?
Yeah.
Or do you, okay, here's a good one. I quit getting my nails done, obviously.
The press-ons are great. They're only $4.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like I quit going in to get I quit getting my toes done because after living in Florida for years, you always year-round got a pedicure and you had them do it. I quit getting my nails done and my toes done so that I could afford to have somebody clean.
Yes.
And maybe only once a month because I can't afford it every week. But like, can you quit doing some stuff or quit wearing MAC makeup that cost a forfortune. And then Aubrey told me all the L'Oreal, Dollar Tree.
She says L'Oreal's good?
L'Oreal is actually good. And you save money, or Elf.
We're so stupid.
And then you're able to have somebody clean your house.
I love it.
I think these are practical tips people should really listen to. What else was on your list? There was something else about getting our twirly girl back.
You make me laugh so much. Oh, goodness. Work through unforgiveness.
Oh, let's go there.
Let's go there.
Work through unforgiveness. The twirly girl, you don't feel like spinning and looking up to Jesus and just smiling when you're just waiting
when you've got
unforgiveness.
Yeah, when you're full of unforgiveness or bitterness. So I think that's key. Yeah, as I was thinking about this, I thought, it's not just like the fun, exciting things to feel to be a twirly girl, but it's also like
the getting rid of stuff.
Yeah, like assessing your life and your heart and going, okay, do I have unforgiveness towards that friend or that family member? Because I do know that when I've had moments that I'm like, ooh, like you're like, I'm getting ready in the morning, do my makeup, and I'm like thinking about this person. I'm like, I'm so mad at them. I'm like, do my mascara, And I'm like, oh, this is a problem. Like I'm going to see them today and I'm already like worked up. So I know when I'm in that state that there's somebody that I'm angry at. I find I'm not as like joyful and free and light compared to when I go, listen, I'm not going to carry that. I do feel lighter. I feel like I'm back to that twirly girl. Does that make sense?
So like you said, like unforgiveness and the grumbling, the just having that that you are struggling with and you're feeling it's like shutting you down. But then those around you don't feel any twirly girl left.
Totally.
And for sure, I think sometimes we think, oh, I have unforgiveness for my uncle who did that to me, right? So we deal with that. But what about unforgiveness now for a whole group of people or a whole situation or a whole scenario. And we're just angry, but we don't know what to do about it.
Right.
Like, again, that always comes back to, it's up to me and Jesus to get this fixed in the inside.
And maybe even looking at it as a selfish thing of going, listen, like, I care too much about like having peace in my life and joy in my life that, like, if we have to look at it from a selfish view, like, no, I'm getting over that because I'm not going to let it, like, my life feel funky.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. There are some other things that like pull me away from the twirly girl and the joy. That would be certain relationships.
Yes.
There's certain people that, and I think we probably both have worked on this, like boundaries with some, and then pulling in others that are Jesus people. We need to put more effort into that relationship.
Which I think the pandemic made all people go, ooh, like, I'm not gonna have like 20 people. I'm gonna have like 5 really strong. Like, it's made you
whittle it down.
So not to interrupt you, but yeah.
Well, and then those people that you whittle down or you need to whittle down could be the ones that they fuel that fire. They fuel that, or they're just negative. Or I've had people that I couldn't figure it out. I don't anymore. I couldn't figure out why I felt smaller around them. Because they never said anything. Maybe they would talk about others, but not about me. But then I would internalize it. Like, well, they're not a very good mom. They work full time.
Yes.
And then I would go, I'm not a very good mom probably because I work full time.
Yes.
Or, oh, you know, they travel a lot and they're absent parents, or, you know, they, as a couple, you know, they don't date. I don't know, just like talking bad about others, that then I was thinking, I was internalizing that. And so that even negativity, I think, made the twirly girl kind of go away in me.
Oh my gosh, I totally get that. And then I think on the flip side, in order to get our twirly girl back, I think we have to have really great friendships or relationships in our lives. I think that's something I've been so taken back by, is the number of women that I've talked with that they're like, yeah, I'm so lonely, like, I feel like I just want to go out and have like dinner with a couple friends. Like, I feel like the pandemic made us all kind of isolate, and now we have to figure out, man, we're all dealing with anxiety or dealing with all these certain things, and maybe it's because we need to like fellowship together. We need to get back together with other humans, you know?
Yes.
And so I know when I have girl time, if it's with you or friends, I feel like, oh, I feel better.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes I think we passively, as we become adult, because when we were little kids, you easily had lots of friends, right? They're always around you wherever you're involved, school, sports, you had friends, built-in friends. And sometimes I think as adult women, we just passively allow whatever friends or people in, or if we don't have any, we just go, well, I just don't have anybody. And I've learned recently, I've got to put some effort into the people and actually pursue some women and become closer. And it takes work on my part, which is weird, because I'm like, why does it take more work as an adult to have a friend? And it doesn't seem that way, but when it's worth it, and when they're sharpening, right? When I run something by them, and then they're like, you know, I was praying for you, and the Holy Spirit gave me this, and it may or may not fit, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is more valuable now than ever.
Totally, and I think it's being vulnerable. Like, as women, we're like, I have it all together. I have it all. I'm not pouring out of my jeans, and I'm not.
I'm not worried about my rules.
Like in reality, is it's getting together and going, hey, like, this is what I'm struggling with. And they go, oh, okay, you have issues too? I have issues. Yeah, because we're imperfect. That's why we need Jesus. You know what I mean? Like, and I think especially as women, we have to learn to let our pride go and put ourselves out there and make friendships and encourage and compliment and
compliment's huge.
It's huge.
I often say, I'm not really a complimenter.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
That's not okay.
I've learned, and I still need to do better.
Yeah, which you are, I think. It's just easy for a person to say that. You know what? I will say Brian says he doesn't compliment, and he's like, I think some people don't, because he's like, it feels awkward. Like, sometimes complimenting can be awkward.
Which is a selfish thing, right?
Yeah.
That so it's like I don't want to feel awkward.
Yeah, I don't want to feel awkward.
Yeah, because you won't make somebody feel awkward if you say, and then I think we're also afraid, this is where the twirly girl stops, because we got, one time somebody rejected us, and we're like, oh, I love your hair, and they're like, I hate it.
Yes.
Or a Christian compliment, and how many of us in a church have heard,
Yes.
oh, it's not me to the glory of God.
It's the Jesus.
And then you're like, oh, that compliment felt
That made me feel, yeah,
small
you're
and
right.
weird.
Like, oh, it made me feel unspiritual because you're like, oh, my hair, it's not my hair, it's the Lord's hair. And you're
It's
like,
the
you're
glory.
Like, yeah, you're like,
Oh.
okay, now
Yeah.
I feel stupid. Yeah.
Yeah, we've
that's
had
true.
that happen. So that's a good one. Like, how do we have a twirly girl in ourselves, but how do we help others get some twirly girl going?
Yeah.
You see people light up when you say something. I told Nancy earlier her jeans were cute. She
Yes.
said, no, I think they're cute.
Yes.
But here's the thing I have to work on is not just complimenting clothes.
You're right.
I
Yes.
have to compliment
personality, character.
and also like face, things that you can't change.
Yes.
So it feels better than, well, I can change the shirt
Yes.
that I got a compliment on.
Yes.
And it's not really who I am.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's a game changer. I feel like a compliment can like change somebody's day. It's a simple like, hey, I've noticed you were like, you're very like tuned in when I'm talking to you. Like you're very present with me. You're just a really good friend. And that's easy for me to say, but for that person, that could be enough to like snap them out of a funk they've been in for weeks, or to snap them out of a, you know, they woke up feeling discouraged, or maybe they just had something crazy happen in their family. And it's crazy how, what does the word say? Kind words are like honey.
To the soul.
To the soul,
Yeah.
you know, so, yeah.
And sometimes what they're hearing is the exact opposite. In our staff meeting yesterday, someone said that they feel in a large crowd like they shrink back and they get small.
Wow.
And somebody across the table said, I see you and you seem larger than life.
Wow.
And then I said, and I noticed you seem larger than life and so kind and
Wow.
like giving the kindness
Yeah.
away. And she instead felt small.
Wow.
And she, in her head, was like, I feel small, I shrink back. We say those words over us. And I remember her saying, like, I want to be kind. I don't want to just be like what I grew up seeing. And I'm like, you are exactly what you want to be. And you come across the opposite of what Satan is telling
Wow.
you. And I'm
that
so
true?
grateful that
Yeah.
somehow this came out, that she got to hear truth.
Wow.
Because in her head it was different. Like I've
love
talked
it.
about my big forehead. And I wouldn't say I have a small forehead. I'm not trying to like lie to myself. But, or that I feel manly with my big calves. But the rebounder is probably making my
It's
calves
probably making
bigger.
it- Yeah.
It's okay. But like the lies of the enemy to say the opposite of others, because then I had somebody in the lobby go, I love your calves. And I'm like, and that's the
Sis.
opposite of what the devil tells you.
Yes.
And so sometimes if we're hearing negative, maybe we just don't try to patty cake it away but we go, actually, is the opposite true?
I love
Is
that.
the opposite
I've never
true?
thought of that.
Because maybe you said to someone, you're very present when we talk. And they have
feel
always
like
been
they're
tell
like,
themselves
I'm
they're
not.
like not focused and thinking about other things.
Yeah.
And then they just settle in and go, on the outside, I'm great and I'm actually better at that than I thought.
Yeah. I love that.
I love that. I love you.
I love you. I love you more.